Well, what drew me to the character was Jason Reitman, who drew me to the whole project, who draws me to almost all of his projects in one capacity or another. But then once I did a little research and started to find out about Bill Dixon, and it was the second opportunity I've had in my life to play a character that is a guy I can call on the phone and email back and forth with. I found him, first of all, just to be a great guy. He's about 20 years younger than I at the time of this, but since he was a behind-the-scenes character, you know, people don't really know what he looks like. And he's a very accomplished guy and a swell guy and a family guy and one of many people who unfortunately will never be mentioned in the national press without saying, you remember him, he was part of that debacle in 1987. I think one of the things this movie's about really is the end of an era. You know, this is, you know, Gary Hart was one of the last candidates that was, you know, sitting down having drinks with the press. You know, I mean, these guys were, you know, comes out of the era of after Kennedy and LBJ and a lot of presidents and public figures who, you know, all their little peccadillos were just, you know, politely not dealt with in the press. And now that we're in the age of everybody knows everything about everybody, this takes place at a time in history that really kind of was the end of that era, and in a way the beginning of this, where the press were just, you know, sniffing around looking for something, looking for a story, whether they could verify it or not. The two things that I liked the most about the script and that you know, I expected from Jason Reitman, you know, were that it's not something that's taking sides or telling the audience how to feel, how to think, and it does. There's a lot of humor in it. There's a lot of, I mean, these are smart people, you know, the people that are running these campaigns, and Gary Hart himself and Lee and. You know, there's a lot of really witty repartee going on, and then you know, we're also the cast are really having the freedom to improvise more than usual with Jason's films, which are usually a little more tightly scripted. But because of all the different conversations overlapping all the time, I think he's wanting to use a little bit more of what all these actors have to offer. Yeah, I mean, Jason's always been very collaborative as a director, and that's, you know, that's what you're hoping for as an actor, you know, whether it's something that's more tightly scripted or something that, as in this case, is a little more loose and open to improvising. And I don't want to overemphasize that. I mean, it's brilliantly scripted and really at first reading, when you're just getting to know all these characters, I had to immediately go back and read it again, because there are all these characters that I don't know their names, and oftentimes 3 different conversations going on simultaneously, like there are often in real life in a room with 9 people in it, you know, all of whom are smart and want attention. I didn't know Hugh at all, hadn't met him, and didn't even really have like a, you know, close friend, you know, that I could say, hey, what's Jackman like, you know? But you know, I had my own sort of naive impression just from seeing his work. I knew he was a good actor, and he just seemed like, you know, the kind of guy that I would enjoy hanging out with on set. And that's, I mean, those expectations have been met and exceeded, and he's, you know, one of those movie stars who's a gigantic movie star, but really, really, really just one of the guys and part of the team, and almost as good a backgammon player as he thinks he is, and just a great guy to sit around and swap stories with.